You're listening to the Angry Marks Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Wrestling Nerdcast on the Angry Marks Podcast Network with your hosts, the Bearded Wonder, Zane Paisley, and the Morning Star, Will Huckabee.
All right, once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's that time of the week. It's time for the Wrestling Nerdcast. As usual, I'm your host, the disrespectful intellectual, the Southern gentleman. I am the IWA North Carolina Heavyweight Champion and the Worldwide Grand Prix Champion. Some people call me the Morning Star. Some people call me the Incredible Hulk. You know, my kids call me Dad. My wife calls me husband. Some people call me asshole. But anyway, I'm Will Huckabee, and welcome once again to the show. As usual, I'm joined by my co-host, the lover of waffles, one half of the world's cutest commentary tag team. She is a commentator for not only Atlanta Wrestling Entertainment, but she just had another great time commentating for Mucha Lucha Atlanta. We're going to hear all about that tonight, plus a bunch of other things. But first, I want to welcome my co-host, Mika Villas. What's up, Mika?
I'm here. I'm just coming down off of my wrestling high. It was such an awesome wrestling weekend. I'm still, I don't do drugs. Wrestling is my drug, and it was a great weekend for me. What about you?
Well, as usual, had a pretty good weekend. Had West Virginia Championship Wrestling up in Princeton, West Virginia. I would tell you that this is probably the most hectic weekend I've had all year so far, mainly because Saturday, if you follow me on social media and stuff, you know that my youngest daughter plays football. She's a defensive end. She's a DB. Every once in a while they try to put her in an outside linebacker or a cornerback, whatever. She's like, for some of our older listeners and stuff, she's like the Slash of Pop Warner. I'm kind of dating myself right now, but she's like the Slash of her Pop Warner team. But they had a game Saturday. I told I was going to be there because it's a very important game and stuff. This game was basically the lockup, the number one seed for the upcoming playoffs and stuff. Really good game. It went to double overtime. Unfortunately, my daughter's team lost 13-6. Last play of the game. The coaches and the referees, they were like, it was a really good defensive game. The coaches and the referees were like, we've never had a game go to triple overtime. And there's really nothing in the rule books about what to do in case of a double overtime. So this will be the last play of the game. If things don't work out, then, y'all just have to end this game in a tie. And unfortunately, the team, the quarterback for the opposing team and stuff, man, was an amazing player. Threw a Hail Mary pass and was caught in the end zone and stuff. And my daughter's team ended up losing 13-6. It was a really good game. So after the Pop Warner game, I had to beeline like 6.5 hours from my home to Princeton, West Virginia, in a minivan, driving through the mountains of Virginia and West Virginia, doing anywhere between 80 and 92 miles an hour. Got to the building maybe 10 minutes before my match. Like I said, I was an honorary. Well, it turns out I didn't even get to be an honorary gymnasty boy. Like it was kind of horrible. But myself and the gymnasty boys versus this team called the Black Skull Army, which is Baron Bullard, Johnny Smooth, and Aaron Biggs, who was one half of CWF Mid-Atlantic's Sandwich Squad. Really good match. I ended up getting pinned by Aaron Biggs, who was the WVCW Heavyweight Champion. And I kind of lost my cool, Mika. I'm not even gonna lie about it. May have gave White Mike a low blow, a kick, to the nether regions, and then kind of hit Tim with a punch to the face.
No.
I completely beat up the gymnasty boys. I had some friends of mine from Georgia that was in the building and stuff, and we kind of had to let the fans, not only the fans, but the rest of the wrestlers and the rest of the talent in the back of the locker room know, hey, look, don't think that because I laughed and joked that that I'm to be taken lightly. So I kind of had a heel turn this past weekend. It was, actually, a heel turn is really good when you have friends who immediately leave the building and don't want anything to do with you. I had a couple of friends of mine, a couple of friends who are fans and stuff, So we were the main event, and as soon as the show was over, they just hopped in their car and left. And I got some pretty nasty messages on social media about me beating up the Gym Nasty Boys. So that was my weekend. What about you? Tell me about Lucha Lucha and everything else. Did you get some tacos?
Well, first and foremost, I would have sent you a dirty message too for beating up the Gym Nasty Boys, especially White Mike. He likes us red bones, so I got to look out for him. And kicking him in his cuddy, that's just wrong, okay? So wrong. I'm shaking a finger at you right now. Bad Huckabee. But I didn't kick anybody in the nether regions, but MLA 13 Bad Intentions was very kick-ass. They had a record crowd, 1,367 people gathered in Norcross, Georgia for one of the best lucha shows in the, if not the area, then just, I don't know, just the best show ever. So many names, so much happened, and I literally was ringside. They set up a commentary booth for our wrestling's cutest commentary team, and we were literally ringside there, literally in the heart of the action, because at one point Joey Lynch moonsaulted over our heads onto his opponents. I mean, I thought I was going to die several times being that close to the ring, as the guys would climb up to the top rope and just do spots from their corner, and I was not prepared to run, duck, and hide, because there's just no room for that sort of thing when you're sitting there at the corner of the ring. But lots of notable names, title matches, and 2 title changes that happened. You had the MLA champion, Mecha Wolf, or Mr. 450, for those who might have followed him on Lucha Underground when he was under that name. He took on Rush, who is, of course, one of the founders of Los Ingobernables, and Caristico. Caristico, of course, being the former Sin Cara, the original Sin Cara. This was both of those gentlemen's debut in MLA, and it wound up being a title change. Rush, underhanded tactics, some dirty things happened, but he walked out as the MLA champion. You had AR Fox had a title match, and AR Fox was the champion. He is no longer the champion. Ray Horace finally defeated AR Fox for the MLA Global Championship. So it was fantastic. And to answer your question about the tacos, let me tell you, it was very touch and go. At the end of the night, because, sitting ringside, doing commentary, it's a little unprofessional to stuff your face like the true fat girl that I am. So I was good. I just drank water. As you talk a lot, you need to keep hydrated. This crowd is wild. There was a couple times where they actually threw things toward the ring, ice bottles, and at one point there was a roll of tape. But anyway, I, did not go get in the humongous line for tacos during the intermissions, because I never would have made it back ringside. So after the show was over, I almost cried because I didn't think I was going to get tacos. There was a great guy, and I did not catch his name, who was there, and he gave me 2 tacos and got me a Coca-Cola. So I got my tacos. It just capped off a great night where, again, title changes. Poor Ricardo Ortiz, who is the owner of Mucho Lucha, had a friend. You were just talking about some of your friends. Had a friend, Vader Morales, turn on him and literally decimate him. So there's going to be some questions that need to be answered, and just a lot of things for the next show when it comes about. So again, first time getting to do commentary there. I really feel good about the show and how myself being my first time there, and Danny being, he's done the commentary there for MLA worldwide before. So I'm feeling really good about our job there, about, telling the stories and just the action that we saw. And I really want everybody to check it out because it is really a fantastic show. It does not matter whether you are into Lucha Libre, whether you're English-speaking native or a Spanish-speaking native. Really, honestly and truly, I feel that wrestling is what brings us all together. There needs not to be a conversation when you're watching warriors in the ring, warriors or warrioresses, because we had the girls get in there and mix it up. Camilla Kane, Priscilla Kelly, and Kiera Hogan. But again, there's a story to be told just by watching the action in a ring. And no matter what the words that accompany it, whether it be English, Spanish, or some other language, wrestling is so universal. It speaks to everyone around generations and generations. There were literally children, babies that look like newborn to people who look 80, 90 plus. This was a generational show. It was a show that kind of just encompassed the world. And I feel that in these times that we live in, this is something that just, there's no race, there's no creed, there's no color. There's just that aspect of that entertainment, that physicality that just brings us together to enjoy something that we love. So for me, literally, I got home and I was so keyed up, I couldn't sleep. I did a Facebook Live post or buzzed around. So to come down off my wrestling high, or at least to attempt. But again, such a great time, and I just can't wait for the next show.
So, okay, well, Jesus Christ, there's like so much going on. I'm really going to have to make it to a Mucha Lucha show. Like, I'm a huge fan of Mucha Lucha, and the fact that, you know what I'm saying, Roosh was there, the founder of LIJ, is like, I'm pretty psyched about that. So anyway, let's see. Okay, was that all wrestling that you did this weekend? Did you get a chance to watch the pay-per-view Sunday after the show? Did you get a chance to watch that at all?
So I did not watch the WWE pay-per-view. I feel really, really bad because, again, I am a WWE fan. I don't think I'm as die-hard as I once was. I am playing catch-up here with so much wrestling that I had on tap and doing, prep work for Mucha Lucha and a couple other shows. I kind of got behind a little bit on WWE, so I'm playing catch-up here. The pay-per-view is actually in my next rotation. When we finish this show, I'm actually going to put it on. I did watch some clips, a couple of the matches, as well as Raw. I saw some spoilers, some pertinent information about the two shows, but I did not watch it wholeheartedly through and through. But yeah, I'm very familiar with the results, which of course, if you social media, you know everything before you even know anything. So yeah.
Yeah, but I just wanted to hit on like the big things. First of all, was not a huge fan of the pay-per-view whatsoever. Did kind of, for the most part, enjoy the main event between Kevin Owens and Shane McMahon. The finish of the match did not see the finish coming whatsoever. I know you've seen. I'm pretty sure you know what I'm saying, the finish of the match or the big huge spot in the match. Of course, we all know Shane McMahon has a death wish or whatever, or either that, or he has like some really good insurance. I'm not gonna lie, he has probably the greatest insurance ever. Because if there's something, he's like if what's his name? Likes the independent wrestler that you love, likes to jump off crazy hot stuff.
Darby Allin.
Yes, if Darby Allin was a millionaire, he would be Shane McMahon. Like, I feel like them two guys were separated at birth. Like, Darby Allin may be Vince McMahon's long-lost son, just for the fact that him and Shane both have, like, an affection of jumping off of really high things wherever they're at. But he jumps off the top of the Hell in a Cell, and surprisingly, nobody saw it coming. Sami Zayn moves Kevin Owens out the way, and Shane McMahon just bites it. Did you get a chance to see that spot? Have you seen the video for that spot?
I've seen the video, and I agree that Shane McMahon has a death wish, and that it is some of the most craziest things that this man does when he really does not have to. I don't think that he needs to prove, other than the fact that he needs to prove that he is insane and crazy. You knew that Shane had to come off the top of the Hell in a Cell. I mean, at least I knew it had to happen. When he said Falls Count Anywhere, I was like, oh my gosh, you're going to get on top of the cell and fight on top of the cell, and either you're going to go through it from the top, a la Mick Foley. I think it was Mick Foley who got slammed through the top of the Hell in a Cell at one point, or, off the side onto the announce tables, the 1,500 announce tables from the various countries that are now ringside. I knew it had to happen. Did not see the Sami Zayn thing coming. Did not see the fact that Shane would take this, I guess the nice word is horrendous bump, that cringe-worthy, like, oh my gosh. Again, if he was, I guess, for lack of a better word, regular worker, with a fatter pay envelope for the crap that he did, especially that bump. But because, his name is McMahon and it's on the freaking line of the checks, it still makes no sense to me that he goes and does what he does and that it's allowed. I mean, as his sister, I'd be like, yeah, kill yourself, fool. That's more money for me. But as a parent, even as a parent / business owner, I'd be like, you know what, son? Thanks, but please, you got kids. But again, Shane McMahon, it's crazy.
I tell you what, man. Like watching the pay-per-view, like when that spot happened and he landed, I was just like, oh God, like, oh Jesus, like come on. You've seen people like go to those tables and stuff, but like for some reason it just looked so incredibly violent, like a really bad car accident. Mm-hmm. Moving on to that, last night, Monday Night Raw, was expecting a lot out of the Raw, especially for the fact that it just followed a SmackDown pay-per-view. For lack of a better word, with the exception of Enzo Amore, highly, highly disappointed in the entire show. You had the final unveiling of Sister Abigail, which is nothing more than Bray Wyatt with a wedding veil and a voice box, which was horrible. And I don't want to get too much into it because I know that like Stevie J and the Great Sudoku and Abby and myself are going to talk about it Thursday on Thursday Night AMP. But I just want to get, have you seen that part of the show yet?
That was the one part of Raw I turned on. I know a lot of people dislike Bray Wyatt, the character, but I kind of dig it. I like that goth, spooky, cult leader type deal, and I had such high hopes for Sister Abigail all through these programs that he's fought the various superstars. Randy Orton, when Randy Orton burned down the little house, the shack or power base where Sister Abigail or whatever, I always felt that they left that open, that they could bring a Sister Abigail in. They could bring a female in, somebody who would be perfect to fit the role of Sister Abigail and kind of reinvigorate the whole Bray Wyatt or the Wyatt family, because you would feel that the Abigail character would bring in your Luke Harper's, would bring in your whatever the other one's name is, and just kind of, reform the family as this kind of Manson-esque cult, but behind a female lead. So I really, really had high hopes for them leaving the open window the way they did. So I, was looking at social media and they was like, oh, Sister Abigail, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh my gosh, who's it going to be? So many females that they have pipeline that they could have, lack of better word, gothed up, threw in that veil, put in all black, gave them some nice, gothic makeup, and just sat them in the rocking chair and let them become Sister Abigail. So many females out there in the independent scene who they could have made a phone call to and said, hey, come do this and we'll give you, whatever. Not a lot of women would turn down to WWE, especially in that kind of spot. My personal choice.
Oh, go ahead. Let me hear your personal choice then. Let me hear
My personal choice for Sister Abigail is now and forever will be Daphne from WCW fame, the Scream Queen, who I've, borrowed her moniker. Daphne is first and foremost was an actress who became a wrestler and learned how to bump and took these crazy, insane bumps, but also was a manager, a valet, changed so many characters, but her base character was this whole goth goddess thing. So now that she's a little bit older, again, she doesn't have to take any bumps as Abigail. Would be perfect. Her dark hair, her crazy laugh, just her whole presence. I love this woman. This woman doesn't know me from a hole in the ground, has paid me no money to say this, but damn it, Daphne would be the perfect Abigail. They could have called her. I bet you she would have come and blown that part away. People who know of her would have lost their freaking shit. Pardon my French. People who don't know would have been introduced to this character, and just it would have worked. What they did.
Now, let me go. Like, if they wasn't, in my opinion, if they were not going to use an actual female talent to be Sister Abigail, I kind of like the idea of Bray Wyatt having multiple personalities, schizophrenic, split personality, whatever medical terminology you want to use for it. I like the idea of Sister Abigail being something in his mind. It's a mental thing. The problem that I had with it was the fact that they put a veil on him and gave him a voice box. In my opinion, it would have got over so much more impactful, for lack of a better phrase, if out of nowhere, it's just like, you see people who have different personalities, and they're them at 1 second. The next minute, they kind of snap, and it's their mannerisms change, their voice. Like, it might be their voice, but their voice inflection change. They may have an accent. Instead, because Bray Wyatt is originally from Florida, if all of a sudden he starts speaking and doesn't have an accent and is more feminine with his mannerisms and his voice inflection, and he has like a little girlish giggle or whatever, in my opinion, that would have been a lot more impactful than what they actually did. If you don't want to use an actual female talent and you're going to have Bray Wyatt play Sister Abigail as well, just give him an entirely, totally different personality. The guy is a great worker, is great on the mic and stuff. I feel like that would have been something that he could have knocked out the park, hands down, without a problem.
I totally agree, but again, the WWE, they consistently disappoint because we expect too much. Let's go back to WrestleMania and the match again with Randy Orton. This weird video projected on the canvas, on the ring apron with snakes and maggots and all this whole crazy weirdness that they did. It's almost like the WWE has no money. Like, they don't have a production studio behind them. Like, they're not making movies. Like, they are half-assing this to the point where I feel like it's a joke.
The term you want to use is hokey. But speaking of using the word hokey, and somebody who is not hokey, somebody who does have people behind him, et cetera, we're gonna talk about tonight's guest. We're talking about things that are not hokey. So Stevie J, our fill-in producer for the night, can you please call tonight's guest? Speaking of split personality, speaking of somebody who is not hokey, speaking of somebody who has the support of everybody around them, our guest tonight, first of all, did me a huge favor, and I owe him so much because he did a huge favor. Because originally we were supposed to have had, in my opinion, the female Goldberg, Camilla Kane, as a guest of the show tonight. Due to unforeseen circumstances, she couldn't make it. But our guest tonight has, I guess you could say, has some history with filling in for people who can't make it because of, unforeseen circumstances or situations, and has a history of not only filling in these spots but knocking them out the park. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest tonight is from Atlanta, Georgia. He's a Georgia resident. He is not only a competitor for AWE, but he's one of the founding members of AWE's Raw division. He is a former WWA 4 champion. I love this person to death. He's one of my favorite independent wrestlers. Not only in the state, but period in professional wrestling right now. Ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome the one and the only Ashton Starr. Ashton, what's
hey
going
guys.
on, man?
Hey, I feel like you just won a Lifetime Achievement Award. I thought that was great.
People always, I'm starting to feel like people always like, man, I do an introduction and people are like, oh man, like you made me feel so much more important than what I actually am. Like, thank you.
Because it's true. Jesus, I feel like I just went to the Hall of Fame. That's great.
Well, I'll remember that when you actually make it to WWE or TNA or New Japan or whatever. When you get your Hall of Fame, I want you to call me and be like, "Hey, I want Will Huckabee to induct me."
Oh no, when they ask me, I'll be like, "It's not even a choice." Okay, I want Will Huckabee. Make that happen.
You don't have to say that. You really don't have to say that. It's okay. You can get somebody really professional to do it. Not Huck. Sorry.
Mika, he'll do a good job. Yeah. I mean, that alone was like qualification enough.
Now, see, before she rudely interrupted, I was gonna say, "Hey, Ashton, we're joined by my co-host Mika Villas, who you also are very familiar with, from the AWE shows and from the Atlanta area. She's been to a lot of shows, a lot of independent shows in the Atlanta area. Everything from from the Landmark Arena to WWA 4 to AWE to Mucha Lucha, Phoenix City, UIW, et cetera, et cetera. So, say hi to Mika, please.
Yeah, she's my boo. Hey, Mika.
What up, baby? How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
Thank you for joining us. We burned down the kitchen. I burned down the kitchen, so I appreciate you jumping in there and, doing what you do.
Oh, no problem. Just trying to remodel, baby. That's all.
Now, let's talk about remodeling things, because we could ask you the regular generic questions of how you got into the business and who your early influences are and stuff, man. But I want to talk about Ashton, the wrestler now, because I have a friend of mine who didn't realize that you did more than just, you've kind of gotten your fame or your notoriety for wrestling females. But I was on a podcast last week. Your name was brought up, and the host was actually like, I never knew Ashton Starr could actually wrestle men as well. I just thought that was just a gimmick. Like, his gimmick was just that he wrestled females. So tell us, first of all, how did you get into being an intergender wrestler? How did that come about? And what's your thoughts as far as intergender wrestling?
Well, for me, because when I was brought into AWE, I mean, I trained with girls and guys and all of that at the WWA 4 when I first started, but I hadn't actually had any matches with any women until AWE in towards the end of the first season, and I was actually with the guys, but they came to me with an idea because at the time it was Priscilla, Kiera, and it was also Dementia DeRose, and it was just those three, and they were kind of just recycling them back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. They wanted something new, I guess, and different to kind of mix it up. So they brought me in for that. I believe it was Murder asked me if I was okay with the idea. I was like, I know and love all three of the girls, so I was like, yeah, I'll definitely do it. And it kind of, it just took off from there. The first actual match I did was a 4-way, where it was those three ladies and myself, and then it kind of just lifted from there. So that's how I got started in intergender wrestling. But, I mean, I grew up. I mean, I remember the Attitude Era. I mean, I was born in 1993, so when I finally started to catch things, it was kind of dwindling. But I remember the Attitude Era. That's why one of my favorites is Jacqueline. Jacqueline is one of my favorite wrestlers. I've seen her wrestle as many men as I have seen women. And it was always something that I love to see because I love the underdog story, but I also love the story to where you're not just the underdog like just the male and female. She was the underdog where she could go, and it was almost like the guy she was facing would be the underdog because they all knew that Jacqueline would pass. So that's why I've always had a love for intergender wrestling. It's not so prevalent now. But I mean, I love it. I don't want to be classified as an intergender wrestler though. But I definitely have love for it.
Well, no, I don't want people to get the wrong impression that that's all that you do. because I've seen you on different shows and stuff, man, and you wrestle, men as well as women. But I've told you this before. I I definitely recall that your matches with Priscilla Kelly and Kiera Hogan and stuff were some of my favorite matches on the show because you were very intense. It was just because they were females, whatever. You didn't hold back, and those matches were just as hard hitting as every other match that was on the card. And that's just your style. I've realized. Period. Is watching when I watch you wrestle and stuff. It's like whether it's a male, whether it's a female, you don't change. Like you take it to their asses, whether they have to stand up to pee or sit down.
Yeah, it's crazy because I wasn't like that at first. I'm very at first. I want to say, well, should D would say it best. I am very he called it majestic, so he called it majestic at first. But when he said that, I was like, yeah, because I have long legs. I can move around, but at the time when I first started with the girls, I really wasn't hitting them as hard. I had to learn to hit them harder. You know what I mean? Because I think, especially when we first start, the common concept is that you don't want to hurt the women, but then the women crave to be hit because they want to be treated just like the guy. So I've always, from my first match with the girls forward, I just came up with the concept of just hitting everybody the same. Nobody's different.
That's right.
That's cool. Like I said, and I've said it before, and it's no knock to them or the fact that neither one of those ladies that we just mentioned have busted their butt to get where they're at. But I feel, my personal opinion is that they have a lot to thank you. Matter of fact, like they really have to thank you because, like I said, I remember when Kiera Hogan was just a ring announcer, and she told me she was trained to be a wrestler, and I was just like, oh, you're very cute. Like, you don't want to be a wrestler. Like, you don't want to get busted in the face. Like, just be a ring announcer. Just be cute, be pretty, and just talk, please. Like, don't get hit. And watching her first match to watching where she is now and watching the progression of matches that she had with you, I could tell that there was steady, constant improvement on her part. What is your mentality? What was your mentality going into those matches with those ladies?
Well, one for Kiera, I would say Kiera is my first friend in wrestling. We've known each other for 7, going on 8 years now. So, it was a different transition because for one is a different transition because I like to do my Hurricane Rondas and stuff like that, but I couldn't with these girls. You know what I mean? So I had to learn how to change up certain things so that it fit the competitor that I was in the ring with. So it was definitely a learning experience on how to switch things up to make things make sense. It was like a psychology tester, I guess, if you will. But as far as Kiera and Priscilla and Dementia go, I want to say, I remember when Kiera was doing the ring announcing and everything, and I know she started as a ring announcer and a valet, and then eventually became a wrestler. And just to see that transition, and just to see, not just because they're girls, but just to see anybody who's just as hungry as I am, and we all have that same burning passion for it, I think it makes everybody's drive go faster, and it makes them go harder than they normally would anyway. And since they were the girls who nobody thought they could do much because they were so new, they had more to prove. So they were a lot hungrier than I think possibly most of the guys in the locker room were at the time, So I definitely think it was the fact that we had definitely had something to prove. We wanted to prove that we could be entertaining. We could be just as good as the guys were who had the regular matches on the card, and that we were just as noticeable and that we wanted to be seen.
Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Wrestling Nerdcast on the Angry Marks podcast. We're talking to our guest tonight, Ashton Starr. And now I will let the diva of the Wrestling Nerdcast speak to El Divo. Mika, what do you have for our guest tonight?
Oh, my gosh. All right, so, again, adorable. Ashton Starr is absolutely positively adorable. And you speak so well, so highly of the females that you've been in the ring with, and you definitely do add such a dimension to all their matches. I've continually love when I hear your music hit. Let's talk music for a second.
Okay.
How important for you is music when you're either working out or wrestling or just establishing your persona before you step from behind the curtain?
I think, well, for me, it was finding what you liked and it also making sense to your character. So, like, when I first started, I had a generic song. It was called Kyoto by Skrillex. It was just something with the beat. No, not that I don't like the song. I love the song, but it didn't fit me and what I was trying to represent. Then eventually I changed it to Fancy by Iggy Azalea because at the time I had a very, I guess, extravagant attitude. It was just about the fur and the boas and the flashy gear. I still use that same song at AWE, but I've also changed it to another song by Iggy called Team because it's like a one-person army of being seen and making yourself noticeable and doing things for yourself. So I feel like that best represents me. So I feel like whether it's you personally or whether it's your character, you have to find a song that matches and actually fits what you're trying to portray out to everyone else.
If
But
you
I'm
had
trying
to,
to think.
no, finish. Sorry.
No, you're fine. I was trying to think because I was like, because in everyday life, I like to get ratchet with the rest of, but I think that's the biggest thing when finding music is to find what best fits you.
Now, you still go to the training school, and I don't know what you consider yourself, but I would consider you to be kind of a veteran. You've got some experience, and if you don't have the years of experience, at least it looks like you do. So how is going to back to school or in this training class, doing these shows, working with these folks who experiences you, are you learning from them, or is it more so to kind of give back to those as they come up in the same kind of steps and follow your footsteps?
Well, I love working with the newer people at the school. I've been doing the shows at the school since 2014. So I guess as far as the students would be concerned, because they call me the vet. I'm only like 4 years in, y'all. But it's like they call me the vet, but I enjoy it because then it brings forth that challenge again to learn how to work with newer people. It's the combining of the different styles. It's so much that they offer. And I feel that if you feel like you've got everything, you've come quite complacent. But I personally feel so much to offer. And most of these guys aren't even a full year as far as training goes yet. And they're killing it. And I love going to shows and I love seeing them out. And they ask me for advice. I ask them for advice. It's not like a one-sided thing. And I always make sure that if they have a question about something or an idea about something that they can ask me, but I don't try to make it seem like I know it all. And it's like when we get to getting these matches and putting these matches together, I'm never like, well, since I've been doing it longer, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, you're going to do this like this, you're going to do that like that. I'm always like, well, what is it that you want to do? And then I'll work what I have around what you have. And then that way we get together and we put this match together so that way I get me over, you get you over, and it actually becomes a good match. And it doesn't feel one-sided.
You've had some, that's pretty awesome. You've had a lot of matches. I mean, I've personally seen you, and I don't even know how many. Again, I love hearing that, Iggy, because I know, oh my gosh, people are in for a show. And you've done some matches in places that aren't, that are kind of, lack of better words, some good old boy areas. That we go into and we may not be as well received, or just so totally not the norm for them as far as their wrestling goes.
Right.
And you still get such a reaction. Literally, everybody falls in love with you. So anybody who's listening who has not had that Ashton Starr, Tell us who is Ashton Starr? What should they expect from you when they hear that Iggy pop on?
For me, they should expect a lot of attitude, kind of basing it off of like a Regina George, Mean Girls type thing. But a lot of attitude, a lot of personality, a lot of spunk, and a lot of charisma, but at the same time, a lot of talent, a lot of athleticism, and a lot of power. Because I think with the character I portray, people don't put that flashy, flamboyant, Regina George, Mean Girl type character with power. So I try to combine them both so that way people take the character, and it's a legit feeling. A lot of people don't perceive the character that's out there as one that could possibly be portrayed as strong, but I'm all about proving things wrong and going against the norm of what people expect, especially out here in Georgia, because it's like they expect you to be so dainty and they don't actually expect you to wrestle. It's like they expect you to be like a special attraction or something like that. And then when you get in there and you wrestle, they're like, oh shit, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? It's like insane. It's unbelievable. But that's what I try to portray. I try to portray someone who knows what they're doing, shows what they're doing both athletically and charismatically. And that way it portrays to the audience and they take it how they feel. What reaction they get, it doesn't matter as long as I get a reaction.
Well, Ashton, it's me now, and I want to get to know Ashton away from the ring because you said, when it happens, you like to get ratchet with the best of them.
Yeah.
When Ashton, when you're not in the ring, you don't have your gear on and stuff. What are you doing? What can we find you doing? I know me myself. I'm a huge lover of classic American literature, so a lot of times if I'm not doing anything wrestling related or with my family, I'm reading books. I'm reading like classic American literature. I know a lot of guys, they're into Japanese anime and cartoons and video games. What do you do when you're not wrestling and beating people up?
I want to have a different answer, but I love my comic books. I love my comic books, and I'm one of those people who just likes to hang out. I like to be in a social setting. So I'm at the mall, or I'm going to the movies, or I'll even go to a club every now and then. I'd like to be a social butterfly. But when I'm alone, I like to sit down. I collect like Starfire, Teen Titan comics. So I have a hobby that I enjoy a lot. So I try to keep myself as busy as possible. And I don't know, like I should be in the gym more often, but I enjoy my cardio. So those are the things I do outside of just being like in the ring.
See, we're the exact opposite. Because I don't know if you're doing cardio. You would never see me like, oh God, I can't wait to get to the gym and how about that Stairmaster? No, not even. I'm like, hey, look, give me a squat rack or some dumbbells, give me a couple of 45-pound plates, and I'm good.
See, I'm the direct opposite. Because I don't know how to use the equipment. I was never properly taught how to use gym equipment. So that's why my lower body looks good and my upper body needs a little work. but it's like, I could do squats. I'm perfectly fine with that. But as far as benching and all of I have no idea what I'm doing. So I just leave it alone.
Do you find yourself, because I know a lot of guys and stuff, a lot of people in the wrestling business, are doing yoga and stuff, man. Yoga and what's that Mexican salsa exercise dance? Zumba.
It's CrossFit.
Like guys,
what else
do you do any of that stuff?
I do yoga on occasion. I do yoga.
So do you do like at home, or do you do like the DDP yoga? Or you want the classes at the gym?
I do it at home. I actually used to own a Trish Stratus yoga DVD. I don't have no idea what happened to it, but I just do it at home. I do all my exercise.
But I feel like that Trish Stratus, I feel like that's a collector's item almost.
Like it's good yoga, but it's like a beginner step for like yoga. It's really comfortable. Like I don't think I'm at DDP level yet. So so I was doing the Trish Stratus stuff. It was really cool, but I'm not at the DDP yoga yet. I've heard the stories about that being intense. I'm not there yet. Not yet.
I tried to do it once, and my wife told me that I looked like a beached whale, gasping for air. And I was like, well, that's it. No more yoga for me. I'm good. Like, I'll just be built for strength, and who gives a shit about being flexible? But you said you like comics. What is it? Starfire comics? I'm not. Excuse me. I know nothing about comic books and stuff like that.
Well, actually, my character is based off. Well, the name of my character is actually based off the comic book character Starfire. So the star part in Ashton Starr comes from Starfire. For me, I was one of those people who saw the cartoons or whatever first and then went into comics. I didn't know much about it, but I saw the TV show, and I think with any show, especially as a kid, there are just certain characters that you resonate with, and I always resonated with her. So I would go and I would go back into the comics and read into it and everything. And then she's actually a very compelling character, and she's constantly developing. So I actually really enjoy her, and I enjoy the Teen Titans and DC comics and things like that. I'm not too much of a Marvel fan, but I've always been just Team DC. So that's really, I don't know. I'm trying to find a way to describe it. That's always been my niche, I guess.
Gotcha. I'm gonna pass it back before I embarrass myself further. I'm gonna pass it back to Mika. Mika, what else do you have for our guest tonight?
Well, first and foremost, I just learned something new about the fire thing with you. I'm like, oh my gosh, it makes perfect sense. So my follow-up question for all the rest of the comic book nerds out there, and not the old people like Huckabee, is which version of the Teen Titans is your favorite? Is the original Teen Titans as the teens, or the ones that we see now as kind of the young, I call them the young bobbleheads?
You're talking about Teen Titans Go.
Right, Teen Titans Go. Yeah.
Well, from the comics, because Starfire wasn't in the original Teen Titans. So in the comics, my favorite comics are the new Teen Titans comic both stories. But as far as the TV show, the anime, I'm always the original Teen Titans TV show. Don't get me wrong, I'm actually one of the people who loves watching Teen Titans Go, but it's for a different audience. So right. In that retrospect, it's supposed to be goofy. It's not a superhero show. So watching it like that, I enjoy it. But I'm Team Original Teen Titans every day.
There you go. That was the correct answer. I like the new one, but man, it's all about the original. Congratulations, you passed my test. No,
if I could cut in real quick, our producer just filled me in on everything that y'all just talk, everything Teen Titans. I was like, oh yeah, my kids watch that show. I usually just tune it the hell out.
You probably watched the new one that we're talking about, the Teen Titans Go. That's probably what you're watching. Now, that's a goofy show. You can tune out of that one.
Yeah, well, it's so funny because I just shared something on Facebook from I guess the Teen Titans Go, where the little green one is talking to the one with the hood on, and it's a rap video or something. And I was like, oh man, this is super catchy.
Oh yeah, the green one is Beast Boy, and the one with the hood on is Raven. And on the Teen Titans Go, they kind of got a weird little relationship that's brewing that neither especially Raven doesn't want to admit to. But it's a hilarious show for kids. I can't for kids, it's a hilarious show for the goofy and stuff. But it's not a superhero show. The original Teen Titans is a superhero show.
Gotcha.
Speaking of, I'm gonna put the old man out of his misery here and kind of move along because he still knows not what we talk about.
He doesn't remember the names at all. That just
he said the green one and the one with the hood. I mean, that just sounded wrong on so many levels. Okay, just oh gosh. Anyway, speaking of superheroes, I need my segue. Your style is absolutely super. I've in your coat, and you know, you told me like, oh please, this thing, but you have the most, I think, unique and eye-catching style that I've seen, male, female, child, whatever. What inspires you? Because you kind of just come up with different looks just out of the blue sometimes. I go, oh my gosh, what did you do? How's this? How's that? And even your gear, and it's not such a huge like, oh my gosh, look at the gear change, but it's so subtle and so fit. How do you just become you when you're thinking together outfits, gear, hair, and what have you?
It's all experimenting. Like I don't know how things are gonna look on me. Like it's all just experimenting, and it's like, I mean, as far as the moves, when I started, I felt like I started kind of basic. But and it's weird because I think for most people, when you start off wrestling, there's a wrestler that you like, and you want to emulate their greatness. For me, when I first started, I was like, I felt like I had something to prove. And what I did was I took a bunch of women's moves from a bunch of different women, and I put them together and made my own moveset. And as the years have gone on, I've just evolved, and I realized what my body's capable of. Like, I realized that I'm actually very flexible. So I'm flexible, and I'm very long legged. So I try to do more stuff that pertains to that. But then, like, you can ask the people at the WWE before. They'll tell you that they believe I'm, like, indecisively strong. That's why I can pick people up that people will be like, did he just pick them up? And I'm like, yes, I did. It's like crazy. Like, I could pick up people like Austin Theory and Bandy, and I don't know about Hook. That's a test. But I can pick up people that people. Right. I can, like, I remember I told you earlier, my lower body's good now. But it's like, it's part of that proving people wrong. And, like, I just try to evolve. I try to use my strengths to my advantage. Like, I guess the best term of it is that my style, it would be hybrid, because I didn't know what to call my my style of wrestling, because I wasn't a high flyer, but I could do high flying things. I wasn't a brawler, but I could do brawling things. I'm not a technical wrestler, but I can be technical. So it's just a mix of different things. And I'm realizing that I can do these things and they work for me. So that's why I do it. And as far as gear and hair, that's the experimenting, because at first that wasn't good at all, especially that hair. But just finding an inspiration, like, I should be having new gear coming soon. It's a secret, but it's pertaining about something we talked about earlier, and I hope it turns out really well. Ooh. But it's kind of crazy, and it's just one big experimentation. Like, I don't know what works best for me, but I'm experimenting. If I don't like it, it stays out. If I do like it, you'll see it on a regular basis.
Okay, there's two more things I need to know, because talk about like it and kind of stays in, stays out. I need to kind of go a little bit back in here, because it would be remiss of me and if I did not ask this question. Very important question, especially to some of our AWE listeners. Where's Pikachu? How's Pikachu doing?
Oh my God. Pikachu's at home. Pikachu is doing really well. I actually still have him. I still carry him around sometimes. Like when I'm just out and about, I'll take Pikachu with me. Like, I took Pikachu with me during Dragon Con. I didn't attend the wrestling part, but during Dragon Con, I had my little Pikachu ears and a tail, and I had my Pikachu backpack that you're talking about. So he's still around. He may pop up every now and then. But, after Marty Bell, he doesn't like to be seen in public.
Just a recap for anybody new going, what the heck? Ashton had this lovely Pikachu backpack that he would bring to the ring, and Pikachu was so over with the crowd that Marty Bell, of Mae Young Classic fame, of TNA fame, when they had a match, Marty Bell literally decimated Pikachu, and poor Pikachu had to be wheeled around in a wheelchair. So, Pikachu.
I remember Brittany Blake gave him a double stomp off the top rope.
Oh, yes, Brittany Blake. Oh my gosh, I blocked that out. It was so traumatic. So again, there's so many, like, I don't want to say bits and pieces. There's so many levels that you bring to the ring, so many different looks, so many different aspects, and something as simple and for anybody else inconsequential like a backpack, you bring to life.
I tried. Well, remember when I first started, it was all about the fur boots or whatever. Then that evolved into the whole selfie phase, and then after the selfie phase was the Pikachu phase, and now I'm in the phase with the hair and the coat.
That coat is getting some work because you're using that coat to its full advantage. I mean, you use it as like a train. One of the shows, you made someone carry the coat like as it was wrapped around you like a train, and I was just like, oh my gosh. You said majestic earlier. This is so majestic. You know, who has someone carry their train? That's not even a real train, and it made it. It was fantastic. Like, your style, your whole persona is just so innovative. It's constantly evolving. Who and where would you want to kind of have a match with on that next level where you may not have figured out now who Ashton Starr is going to be, what that character is going to move to, but there's got to be somebody in your mindset that, you know, like, you know what? I'd love to step in the ring with X and just go.
Yeah,
God, please don't say Huckabee. Please don't say Huckabee. Pikachu doesn't even want to fight Huckabee. I'm just saying.
I wouldn't be opposed to it. I love a difference in style when it comes to matches. So I would love actually a match with Huckabee. But I mean, I had for a long time I wanted to wrestle Sonny Kiss. I did that when I went to New York this year, so I could scratch that one off. I would love to wrestle like maybe Dave Chris or
take my money now. You take my money.
No, I like Dave Chris. I love Jason Cade. There's a lot. There's actually a lot that I can't think of right now. I mean, I would love a match with Chip Day.
Wow.
I haven't had that at all. Like, I would love a match. I haven't had, like, big matches with big names at AWE other than the girls. So, I mean, Chip and Martin and of course, Jimmy. You know what I mean? It's there's so many people out there, so many different avenues. But what's the other one? Oh, my gosh. My friend Rudy's going to kill me if I don't remember his name. Matt Riddle. You know what I mean?
Oh, my.
Yeah. Oh, I like to get brutal. I wouldn't mind it. You know, I think it would all be fun. Like, what about me versus Tyler Breeze?
I would actually, if I can cut in, I would actually like to see you versus Sugar Day.
I would love that too. I think that'd be funny, actually.
Mm-hmm.
I think the universe would collapse on itself.
I just found out for 3 ways. Somebody could take this and again take money. Suge D, Ashton Starr, and Effie. Put the 3 y'all in the ring together and just.
I am actually a fan of Effie. I am a big fan of Effie.
Oh my gosh, the 3 y'all together, just like that's
a lot
like
of flamboyance in one match. The work's not ready.
That is like the created. Are you kidding me? Screw your double stuff. Put all y'all in a ring together and just here's my checkbook. Write what you want, okay? Thank you. Gosh,
I would love that. I didn't even think about that. I would love that.
Anybody listening, you can have that one. Just do it. That's all I'm asking.
Anybody make it happen. Like, seriously, make these things happen. I want them to happen so bad.
Me too.
Now, Ashton, I have a question. You know, getting into the whole like who would you like to have a match with and stuff. Who on the you know, you go to all these different shows, and I've seen you in North Carolina and you go to Alabama and et cetera, and all over Georgia and stuff. But who are some of the guys that you see now on the independents and stuff who really motivates you to constantly evolve and get better?
Honestly, like, out of everybody, it's like the people at the WWA4. Because, like, when I first started at the WWE4, we weren't on the scene like that. Like, they were on the scene, but there wasn't so many of us. Because, well, to be honest, most of us weren't that well skilled, I guess would be the way to say it. I'm not gonna say well trained, but most of us weren't really that well skilled that promoters would be like, I gotta have this person or that person or whatever. But they, like, the new people at the WWE, they keep me so on my toes. Like, as far as, like, I've been doing it for 4 years, and they're all first years. Like, AC Mack has, 5 championships? And I'm like, dude, you're not, it's like your first year. Like, what are you doing with, 5 championships? And I mean, I'm not talking about at the school. I'm talking about on the independent circuit. I'm like, what are you doing 5? Or a theory being signed to Evolve. You know what I mean? So it's like, they keep me, on my feet. So that way, it keeps me going. It keeps me wanting to evolve. It keeps me wanting to experiment and transition and all these character ideas and whatnot. They keep me... I feel like as much as I may keep them in check, they keep me in check at the same time. Because it's almost like I better play catch up. You know what I mean? For all these people past me, and I end up with a whole new class of folks that I'm looking at.
Yeah, I say that a lot of times, man, that as much as I'm able to teach a lot of these younger wrestlers, as far as psychology and things like that, like, I learn stuff from them every show. Like, every time I'm around somebody who's young in the business is like, oh, man, I've never thought about that. Or, hey, yo, that's really cool. I think I could use something like that. Is that how you see yourself a lot of times?
Exactly. And it's funny because I forgot who I was having this conversation with. I think it was either Tommy Maserati or it was Alan Angel. It was one of them, and we were talking about, giving each other critique on our matches and everything. And one of them felt like they couldn't tell me anything because I had been doing it longer. And I was like, no. I was like, I've got no contracts. I was like, I've got no, I haven't been on national, TV. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm still here at the school because I still want to keep learning. So it's like, it's okay for you it's your advice. I mean, you're a wrestler and you've been a fan. You know what I mean? It's okay to give your advice, or if you see something in one of my matches you don't understand or you don't like, you know what I mean? It's okay to ask me about it, or it's okay to say what you think may have been better about it. Because I don't care how long you've been in the business, whether it be your first month or you've been doing it for 175 years. Critique is critique, and I take everybody's critique openly, It's because just because you've been doing it longer doesn't necessarily mean you're better or you get it better than someone else does.
It's so cool that, as good as you are, how we're sitting here singing your praises, that you stay humble. But something that I feel like, we haven't touched on, which is something huge now to the entire Ashton Starr brand, is your ability to talk and to cut a promo. And you are amazing when it comes to getting on the mic and talking. I've got to ask you, how big is cutting I'm sorry, because it's a 2-part question.
Okay.
How big is it as far as cutting a promo? How important is that to you, being able to cut a good promo? And B, how often do you actually work on your promo skills?
Well, wrestling is 50-50 to me. There's the athleticism, great, but there's also the charisma, and the promo work goes into the charisma. You know what I mean? For you to portray a character, if you have to talk, you have to know what you're talking about. You have to be on your cues, and you have to know how to talk and portray the character that you're getting forward. My character is, like you said earlier, it's like a diva. So it's that Regina George, sarcastic, or, some places they call me like the Prince of Petty. Well, my character is extremely petty. So I have to, and actually, getting started in wrestling, believe it or not, I had to research that. That's something I actually got good at. I watched a lot of, ratchet reality shows. I would watch, The Love and Hip Hop and the Real Housewives and the Basketball Wives. And of course my favorite movie of all time is Mean Girls. So I had to study, I had to study. I had to learn how to make a quick, witty comeback and all kinds of things, or be on my toes. So it's you have to research what you're trying to portray. And a lot of people think that you can just go out and just do it. And some people can, that's great. But for others, you have to research it. And that's, I think it's extremely important that people realize that wrestling is 2 parts. You have to play the part, but you got to look the part too,
So okay, let me ask you a question. What? Because my when I'm deciding to be petty, my petty alter ego is Petty Ruxpin. What does your petty side have its own alter ego?
The I don't know, because if you ask people, I don't know how to turn it off. So now I don't know how to turn it off. I'm trying to think. I think the petty alter ego is Ashton Starr. So you get like there's Terry, which is just me on a regular basis. That's the one who likes to hang out and read the comics and whatnot. And then there's Ashton, who is in your face, talking junk, all kinds of stuff like that. It's like two different personas. One is a little more laid back. It's still wild. The one's a little more laid back, and the other's a little more in your face.
All right, well, last question, because I know our time with you is running short, so I'm going to give you a chance to be petty real quick.
Okay.
And you have to give an answer. I'm not going to let you skip out on this one. All right, Ashley, you got to answer. Whose hair game is better, you or Kiera Hogan?
Ooh.
You actually see a lot of my own hair, so I would actually say mine. Kiera, as gorgeous as she is. Don't get me wrong, as gorgeous as she is, I've never needed to wear a full wig, so I personally feel that it's necessary to say me and only me. A lot of my hair is my own. I'm able to grow my own. And I feel that it is completely necessary for anybody who wants to actually have hair attached to their scalp to do so. So, that's just me, though. I'm not, She'll kill me for this, by the way, but, it's whatever.
Hey, you know what? I've seen you beat her enough times in the ring, and I'll cheer for you. Before we let you go, man, let us know upcoming appearances, how our listeners and fans can keep up with you and keep up with all the pettiness and stuff. So give us your appearances, your social media contacts, et cetera, et cetera.
All right. So upcoming events start the WWE for every Thursday. Bell time is 8 o'clock, of course. Then usually every Friday at the Landmark Arena in Cornelia, Georgia for National Championship Wrestling. Bell time there is also 8 p.m. This Saturday, I will actually be in Chattanooga for TWE, which is Tennessee Wrestling Entertainment. That bell time is 8 o'clock. And, of course, I have AW coming up. That's at the 22nd. And no telling what I'm doing because I'll never tell. But I'll be there, and I'll also be going back to Peach State on the 21st. So I'm trying to stay busy, y'all. And
you just keep it super busy, man. Super busy.
I try to. Shoot, it's how I'm losing weight. But also on my social media, my Twitter is Ashton is a Star, and on Instagram and on Snapchat it's Ashton Starr, and of course Star spelled with 2 R's.
All right, man. Are we gonna see an Ashton Starr T-shirt coming out soon?
I'm working on it, y'all. I would like to have some out by my birthday. I've got tons of designs that I already have planned. It's just a matter of actually getting onto shirts. I had a pro wrestling store, but none of my designs went through. So hopefully by my birthday, I will have at least some form of Ashton Starr merchandise. I've actually been thinking about doing bandanas. I think that'll be cool.
Bandanas with hair attached. Just saying.
Well, not just that, but it's like bandanas where when it's over your mouth, they'll say like certain words and phrases and stuff. I think that'd be cool.
Ooh. Good. Okay.
Well, Ashton, thank you. Look, thank you for being a guest on the show, man. I appreciate you pitch hitting for us tonight, man. We're definitely going to see each other in October 22nd and stuff for AWE back in the Marietta Event Hall and stuff. But thanks for being a guest on the show, man.
Thank you, guys. I love you guys so much.
Love you, too.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
All right. Bye, Ashton. We'll catch you down the road.
All right, we will. Bye-bye.
Mika.
Yes.
Ashton Starr.
I love Ashton Starr. When I say adorable Ashton Starr, and Ashton is one of the premier talents, and one of the reasons I was actually kind of glued to my seat in the AWE shows in the beginning when I first started to go, Ashton is a huge part of the reason. Absolutely talented, absolutely adorable, and just a sweetheart outside of the ring. I mean, in the ring, there's a character to be portrayed, but just outside, always so nice, always so, just fun to be around, and just an absolute adorable human being through and through. Love Ashton Starr.
I love him because he's super talented. And like I said, in my opinion, and I've told plenty of people this, and I told him the Raw division would just be another indie wrestling company's women's division if it wasn't for Ashton Starr. And this is no knock on any of the other ladies, but Ashton Starr was that little spark that it needed to make themselves different, to give it a different kind of feel to it. Super humble, like I said, you should see him in other areas. When he came up to North Carolina, the Firestar Pro, Ashton was way more brutal, way more aggressive, way more mouthy, I guess you could say. He had turned it up a dial. Whenever he's wrestling with men or whatever, he just turned it up a serious dial, especially when he's debuting in a new area and stuff, man. So as much as I enjoy watching him at AWE and a lot of other places, seeing him at places like Firestar Pro Wrestling up in Greensboro, North Carolina, is a treat unto itself. Anyway, so this week, Mika, what you got going on this week?
I am working on some stuff to further my commentating career. Danny Danger and I are in talks with a promotion that will be showing out of the Landmark Arena, the famous Landmark Arena. You will probably very, very soon hear the World Wrestling's Q team. So I'm going to go catch some shows this weekend, probably up in that area. I'm still working towards the end of this month, where we have, of course, the AWE event. There is a PWX event in North Carolina. But this weekend, I'm going to try to stay local here in the Atlanta area and head up to the Landmark Arena and check out the stuff that they're doing. There's also a Viral Pro, so I'm kind of in the air about where to go, but I will definitely be at a wrestling show this weekend. If you follow my social medias plural, you will find out as I say, okay, guys, I'm heading here, and I want you not to just meet me there, but beat me there, because trust me when I tell you, if I'm in the house as a fan especially, you're going to be in for a good time just listening to me scream like a mad woman, and pro wrestling is going to be great, of course, just because indie pro wrestling is so awesome. So they were my tentative plans for the weekend.
Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to tell you where you should be at Saturday. Saturday you should be in Columbus, Georgia, because I will be there for SPW, formerly NWA Georgia. Now it's a part of the UWN or UWA, the United Wrestling Alliance or whatever. But I will be in Columbus, Georgia. I have no idea what I'm doing yet Saturday, but I will definitely be in Columbus, Georgia. Check it out. You should come check it out and bring a bunch of the fanatics to come support me. Mika. Columbus is not that far from Atlanta. And then Sunday, speaking of Firestar, I will be at Zone 1 Wrestling, which is Firestar Pro Wrestling's, I guess, developmental company and stuff, is where a lot of the young guys go at and stuff. I will be there for their Season 2, Episode 1 taping. Right there, the Firestar Pro Wrestling Training Academy. Check it out, Firestar Pro Wrestling on Facebook. You can see it on my social media, et cetera, et cetera. Social media, Mika, you want to tell our fans and listeners where to follow you? Figure out, if you're going to come to Columbus, Georgia or not?
Follow me to see if I go down to harass Huck while he's in the ring on all forms of social media. That would be Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, at Mika Villas. That's Mika, V like victory, ILLAS. I am always on some form of social media, posting pictures and from different events, and just, giving my general view on the world we live in today. Which, in other words, sometimes, you'll see me drinking coffee, or you'll see some wrestling. You never know, so you actually want to just pop onto something and just watch.
As for myself, follow me on Facebook and Instagram, William Huckabee, Twitter, W.A. Huckabee. Follow the Wrestling Nerdcast on Facebook, Wrestling Nerdcast. Follow us on Twitter, WNerdPod on Twitter. Once again, I would like to thank our guest, Ashton Starr, for filling in. Next week, ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. You definitely don't want to miss next week's show. We'll have, supposed to be tonight's guest, next week, me and Mika will be stepping into the kitchen with Camilla Kane, Durham, North Carolina native, LFL football player, total female bad-ass ass kicker. She's a tough Mickey Ficky. So on behalf, I almost forgot something. I feel like an asshole now. We here at the Wrestling Nerdcast would like to send our best wishes, get well, to our illustrious producer, the one and the only Killer Kev. Got into a car accident this past week, was very injured, had to have surgery, broke his arm, which is pretty badass. I've never broken my arm. So you got one up on me, Kev. But we want to wish, send out our get well soon, our best wishes, whatever the case, hurry up to come back to our producer, Killer Kev. So on behalf of our film producer and the brains behind the Angry Mark Podcast Network, the illustrious Stevie J, on behalf of one half of the world's cutest commentary team and the lover of waffles and the second coming of the Scream Queen. I can't talk all of a sudden. Mika Villas. I am your host, the IWA North Carolina Heavyweight Champion, the Worldwide Grand Prix Champion, the Southern Gentleman, the Disrespectful Intellectual, the Morning Star, the Incredible Huck, and the Indie Darling Killer, Will Huckabee, saying, see you next week and support indie wrestling.
Bye-bye.